Yes, we better decide to connect, but thank you so much for assisting us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've assembled this group to join the rest of the group.
Hello, Matko-san. Okay.
Thank you, Your Grace. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Your Grace. There you are, guys. That's your room.
If you could just be patient with me, I'm just going to start in a short while. I'm still admitting more people.
Where do I go? And then they had all the photos there now, but now it's just...
Tell me where you found this. Don't show me. Where?
No.
For me, yes, it's okay. Sure.
I switched off my audio.
Hey, suffering. Hey, suffering.
One people.
For now, I'm going to ask you to just mute yourselves, please.
That's the thing. It's innovation. It's not
Morning.
No, morning.
I'm eating.
I'm not sure your video.
Just letting the others know that they can go on. Thank you.
Morning, Your Grace.
Morning, Father.
Morning, everyone else.
Morning.
Morning.
Brother Josh, how you doing? Very well, and yourself? Can't complain. Down the road. See you soon.
I can't sit behind the line.
Morning, cheers, Grace.
Morning.
Morning, everybody else.
Morning.
Morning, Chris.
Morning. Good morning. We will start very soon. I'm still admitting people.
Oh, okay.
Admitting people.
Good afternoon, Your Grace. Guys, it's afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon. I'm so sorry for starting late. I'm normally a very punctual person, but I don't know this field. I'm still admitting people.
That's fine, okay.
Hello.
I see Abulela Pins is within us. Is amongst us there.
Yes, Kolan, I'm in. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I don't want you to see me. That's the thing.
I see Sabelo Timkud is also within us. Is here?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Timkud, Sabon.
Ninja.
Sure.
Sure.
I would discuss it, but we're still waiting. Okay, I'll join you guys just now.
Okay.
Gibbs is here. He's amongst us. Greetings, Gibbs. The NSF President Masitana, you are here. Greetings, my president.
Hi, Kalani.
How are you, my president?
I'm well, thanks. And you?
I'm good, president.
Hello, Basitana.
Hello,
Yeah. Archie's on now.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Good day, Arch.
Good day, good day. We will
How are you, Arch?
I'm well under these circumstances. And how are you?
I'm fine, Arch.
Enda. Hi, Arch.
Hello, how are you?
Going in the Fangeo.
We're fine. Where are you meeting from? I can see there are a number of you there.
Okay, we're meeting from the desk of Setma in the boardroom.
Thank you. I hope you are keeping social distance there. It is 1 o'clock now. It is 1 o'clock now, and my apologies for starting late. I was having some technical problems, and thanks to Pastor, oh my word, my name is the name is just gone, for helping me with the connection. Without much ado, I'm going to ask Masitana to open the meeting with a prayer.
Okay. Let us pray. Re etele pele morena mo ditirong tsotlhe tsa rona ka tsalono ya gago ya tshwaro o go rotlheletsa ka thuso ya gago e nnang e le teng gore mo ditirong tsotlhe tsa rona simololang di rotlheletse le go sotlwa mo go wena le tse re galaletse mme la bofelo ka kutlwelobotlhoko ya gago re bone botlalo ba botshelo ka Jesu Kriste morena wa rona.
Amen. Now, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. If it is not your turn to talk, please just mute yourself. And then if you wish to talk, there is a device there where you can raise your hand. So without much ado, I want to welcome all of you to this platform during this time. And I want to thank each one of you for really availing yourself on this Easter Monday. We are in a different space, not only in South Africa, but throughout the world. And we need to pray. I have created a number of prayer groups. The clergy have been excellent in IT. We are working with various countries. You know, our province is Angola, Namibia, St. Helena, Lesotho, Swaziland, Mozambique, and South Africa. So we're trying to talk through what you guys do best through IT, and we don't understand it. So today I thought, rather than only consult the adults, the presidents of the organization, rather than consult the president of South Africa and the other leaders, let me consult you and hear from you and hear your feelings and hear how are you dealing with the challenge of COVID or coronavirus, as people say it, as the young people in Southern Africa. I get reports that there are places where the army and the police are not treating people fairly, and that pains my heart. And maybe you are on the ground and you know more and you want to share. So let's start then with the first question. And when you answer, please just be brief. The first question is, how can the church rebuild trust with the youth, particularly at this time? Who wants to start? Yes,
Your Grace.
The Dean's son in Johannesburg. Go ahead.
I think at this point in time, there's not really much communication between the youth and the church. Like, there's no stable form of communication. So I think most of us are kind of in the unknown as to what's actually happening. So I think we should try establish a more firm form of communication.
Thank you so much. That's a real practical thing. Thank you so much.
Your Grace.
Who else wants to suggest?
Your Grace.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. I do think that what my brother has said is very important, that there hasn't been so much communication. I don't think it's something that starts from now. I don't think it's something that is from this situation, this corona situation. But I think it's something that has been happening before the corona situation. So I think it's not something that we need to say, what is it that we can do now that there's a corona? But it's something that we need to say, what is it that we haven't been doing as a church from the beginning in communication with young people? And what is it that we are going to do even after the coronavirus? So I think the communication breakdown has been there before even the coronavirus. I think it's something that also arose on our provincial synod. There hasn't been communication, especially on some of the things that might have been resolved in a synod that you young people might have suggested. There haven't been a communication on how are they being implemented and who is trying to make sure that we look into those things, make sure that next time when we meet, we do have reports on them.
Thank you. The point has been taken. Shamlin, I see Shamlin has got his hand up. Shamlin.
Good day, Grace.
Yes.
Referring to number one, does the church rebuild trust by being church beyond the confines of a building, by achieving pledging witness to the greater community of God's love and way of life, and not just talkers of the word, but doers of the word, and also living unconditional love as said in 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah. Thank you, Shamlin. I see Nyaniso Tutu Burris. Nyaniso.
Hi. I think specifically during COVID, the fact that since the churches have closed their doors, that we haven't really seen much of them. So that they've kind of shut their doors and they aren't doing much. So we haven't seen them doing reach outs. We haven't seen them doing anything for the homeless, for victims of gender-based violence. And it's very hard to have that trust when they aren't walking the walk, when they aren't walking the walk of God's unconditional love, when their doors have been shut. Yeah.
Thanks, Nyaniso. Let's see. Kyle, Marco, Abraham.
Hello, you guys. Hello, family on this group. I think it's already been echoed, and most of us basically acknowledge the challenge that we are faced by young people or facing at the end of the day is the need to communicate with each other, the need to close, as you call, the gap at the end of the day, the need to cross between, even though I'm living in Peru, I go to Haideveld, even though I'm living in I can't stress enough how much I feel the Anglican Church needs more unity. And as young people, we need more unity in standing together, because I think the problems that and the answers that we are going to give are all going to be the same, and for the same cause, for unconditional love at the end of the day. So I'm just praying that from here we can create unity and understanding, so that when and if something should arise in the future that threatens the church and our young people, that we can all stand together.
Thank you. Let's have Abigail.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just think that we should stop asking the priests and the people in leadership what they can do for us. What are we as young people putting in place to assist the church?
Thank you. Azola.
Thank you, Grace. I think the church can rebuild the trust becoming more welcoming, accommodative in church. Accommodative. Thank you.
Thank you, Azola. Could you all please mute yourselves? Kagisho Dladla.
Oh yes. Hello, Your Grace. My proposal is that we use our churches as platforms where we can aid the community. Instead of the young people staying away and not doing anything, we could create ways of us to become more involved and helping out in curbing the spread of the COVID-19. This will increase the trust and also make each individual feel accountable and physically participating in reducing the spread. So in some cases, we can use the church as venues, as hospitals where people could be treated if the cases get worse. We could use the church as that and train young people to help others instead of being away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we feel that there is something emerging in terms of the church? Is there any other new point that we wish to make?
Yeah,
yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I see your hand.
Oh, you did my hand, George.
Perhaps mention the name, Your Grace.
It's somebody from Mozambique.
Right.
I see he's struggling with connectivity. Who hasn't spoken and they want to add to this question? Yes. Who hasn't spoken? Please speak.
Grace.
Hi, Arch.
Yes.
It's Rendan from St. Mark.
Okay.
I think Arch, the other way which the church can help young people is by providing the materials for young people to use on the social media. Most of young people, they have access to WhatsApp groups and Facebooks. So if the church can provide the material in such time for them, where they can meet and resources maybe apart from our APB prayer book, but we come up with a resource which is simple and clear for young people to use in the church. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Reverend Chesney.
He's unmuted. It needs to be unmuted.
Reverend Chesney, unmute yourself, please.
Sorry, Your Grace, there I am.
Okay.
Greetings to everyone. Father, just to say that the call that the young people, that I pick up coming from young people, is they're wanting something from the, I don't know, I keep on going away, sorry.
Okay, we can hear you.
And so it might be a good idea, Your Grace, to have a group set up from this young people that are meeting now to get a mandate from you as the Archbishop, and then to start disseminating information on behalf of the church instead of us waiting for the church leadership to produce something. If the young people can then mobilize on platforms such as Zoom and then sort of create that resource center that they are looking for.
Thank you, thank you. I don't see any other hands.
Your Grace?
Yes. If you want me to recognize you, please press the hand on the computer.
Oh, the hand on the computer.
There is a sign of the hand there. There is a sign. If you raise your hand on the
Yeah, man, bacha le bona ba tshegana tse. Your Grace o tshula re phamitse.
Okay, please go ahead. Yes. Yes. Is that Daniel?
There's a child in the background.
Okay, Lorenzo Titus, please go ahead.
Hi, Art. I just want to say that we can at least like the youth group, that said just now about social media. I just want to know if we can follow the lectionary during this time and say to our own users like what to do basically, and have topics talking about that topics basically.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Very practical. And then let's see, Charity Munari.
Thank you, Arch. I might be reiterating or echoing what someone else has mentioned, but I think going beyond COVID-19, I think it would be important, and the way that the church can actually put trust in us, and I think we've had these conversations a lot with the students from St. Paul's, is that we need the church to be in the front line of coming up with interventions for social problems, because I always refer back to what the church did during apartheid. They were at the front line. The Anglican Church was at the front line of the fight against apartheid. And today we've seen how the church itself has just stayed in the background. And I think it's not motivating for young people to rely on the church to do something when the church itself is a greater entity that could really influence and change the responses and people's perceptions about, for example, GBV or drugs and abuse. And I think the church has lacked in that, and that's why a lot of young people have lost trust in the church.
Thank you. Let's get Jay Williams.
Thank you, Your Grace. James Williams, Saldanha Bay. I think let's just speak to one topic here, that there are a lot of youth that are actually quite active. And then if I look at the 3 dioceses here in Cape Town, we are interacting with one another on quite a frequent basis, and also with the youth representation that were at Provincial Synod. In a collective group, we've combined forces, I'll say, to ensure that we have a transparent and inclusive process with the leadership of the church, but more importantly also the leadership of the communities, to ensure that these questions being asked is asked on this platform from the Archbishop, but also we can take this to our communities and ensure that we go and grow this within the youth factions, not just from the Anglican perspective, but from the whole ecumenical society.
Thank you. Kolani Kuzwayo.
Yes, thank you, Your Grace. And greetings to everybody. Here, as the youth also, we need to take a sense of responsibility. We can't always expect the church leaders to pave the way for us. We need to be proactive ourselves. And 2, the major issue we have here, especially with more your traditional African Anglican churches, the youth is seen, not heard. That's the issue that we suffer from actually. And that's my 2 cents for now.
Thank you. Pastor Zana, you want to say something again?
Yes, I just think in terms of being practical, and maybe it's being done, but we don't hear about it, or we don't see it enough. An example is in Gauteng. There's a lot of homelessness, and the government is trying in terms of food parcels and creating shelters for those people. But what I've seen and what I've been getting is that it's not enough. And in terms of young people as well, there are a lot of us who might not be safe in their own homes, and who might not even have enough to eat during this time. So in terms of the now, I think that's one practical way in which the church could step in and fill that gap.
Thank you. You're meeting any other person on that question, or should we go to the next question?
Grace,
Yes, who's that?
how are you, sir?
Go ahead, please.
I would like to speak on the question that we are doing just right now. I wanted to look at. Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. The Anglican Church is mostly careful in nurturing the spiritual need of the youth, but it seems to be lacking in assisting the youth in fulfilling their economic inspirations. For instance, there are skilled and semi-skilled or unskilled, unemployed young people within the Anglican Church. The critical question is what the church is doing about the situation, guided by the view that charity begins at home. I believe Anglican Church can use its structures from different dioceses and parishes to help the youth people. For instance, a parish can register its unemployed church members who are already working, can use their network and connection for the youth to join the employment. Through investment, the church can form small partnership with youth entrepreneurship to overcome challenges of unemployment faced by the many youth in the Anglican Church. Thank you, Your Highness.
Thank you so much, sir.
Your Grace.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Your Grace.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Just listening to my fellow youth members, Father Wilton from the Diocese of George, the question that comes to my mind is, how effective is our current structures in the church, especially when it comes to youth ministry? How effective is the provincial structure? How effective is each diocesan structure? And what can we do to advance those structures to give support to young people around our province and so on? Because we have the structures, what are we doing inside those structures? Are they sustainable, or where are they now? Thank you, Your Grace.
Joshua Abrams.
Thank you, Your Grace. I think first and foremost, thank you for this platform that you have created for us as young people to engage with each other. It is commendable to you as our leader. So thank God for your leadership. I would just like to speak about safe spaces, being practical within our churches. If we are to build an inclusive church, I think it's important for us as leadership to create safe spaces for our young people and our parishioners as a whole. I'm specifically referring to our LGBTQI community. I'm talking about women and children who experience gender-based violence. So I'm talking about social justice issues. I think it's extremely important. As much as the youth is expected to be proactive and not depend on church or wait for church leadership, I think it's important that church leadership in itself, that we have to create the safe spaces for an inclusive church. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have Ayanda Komusutu.
Hi, guys. How are you?
I'm well under these circumstances, Ayanda.
Thank you. I just noted that on so many things, we are putting so much pressure on the church. Wouldn't it be better if the youth acts first, and then the church helps us, seeing that we have acted? So what are we doing in the youth? I mean, as the youth, are we showing any progressive actions to the church to help us? Like, let's not put so much pressure on the leadership of the church. Let's also do some action within ourselves. There's so many projects we can involve ourselves in that the church can then help us further. That's my 2 cents for now. Yeah.
Thank you. Tlahu Mulukwani.
Everyone, thank you so much for this opportunity. What I'd like to add on the table is a matter that is often stigmatized, which is mental health. Currently, there are young people who are anxious, worried if they're ever going to finish the year at school. And this has implications which can lead to depression. And this is something that's often stigmatized. If a young people mentally mentions the fact that I'm not dealing emotionally well with the reality of the situation, it's something that young people laugh at, you know. And I mean, mental health is where we find, if worst case scenario, if it's not treated, it can lead to severe depression, which unfortunately can lead to suicidal thoughts and the action at hand. So I think this is another platform that we really need to focus on. The mind, if the mind of a young person is focused, is well fed, and within that we're able to feed on everything else, because we know that the emotional and psychological well-being of a young person is at the right stance, especially in the midst of this situation where we're worried about exams and school, and if we're ever going to finish the year in time to follow our dream careers and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacqueline Cupito.
Hi, good afternoon, Your Grace. Good afternoon, everybody else. Coming back on how the church can rebuild trust with how the church rebuilds trust. I think that relationships is important, and the church has neglected that. Building relationships, building sound relationships and relationships of loyalty amongst each other. Also, by doing that, modeling Christ and His love that we have for each other. We talk about unconditional love, but we don't really live out that unconditional love. When it comes to gender-based violences and all the injustices that we do have, can you turn it? Sorry. All the other injustices that we do have, we are not really a physical church who comes out and stands up for what we believe in. We sit behind our keyboards, we stations, but as young people, we don't come out and do something about it. And I think by building trust amongst each other, that is what we can do. If we stand in unity and actually come together and do stuff, rather than just sitting behind our computer screens and stuff and venting how we feel.
Thank you so much.
Human relation is everything. God created us to be one. So
thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you.
Lance Lowe.
Thank you, Your Grace, for giving me the opportunity. I'm not sure if everyone can hear me.
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. On the question about us, how do we rebuild trust with young people? I think the previous speaker mentioned some of the things that I wanted to say is that we are good at standing in the pulpit and preaching, and we are definitely good at gathering in our churches. But are we on the battlefield, so to say? Are we in the schools? where our children are facing serious issues, and those issues will just be compounded now that schools have been closed. Are we out on the streets where our young people are being abused, are facing homelessness and unemployment? We really need to do more than just speaking and preaching beautiful sermons, although those are also important. But we need to start really taking action in terms of addressing the issues that young people face in society. I also think that a lot of the people have spoken about taking responsibility as young people, and I think that is another aspect. Yes, we do need the church, and we do need our priests and our bishops to come forward and advocate for us and assist where necessary. But as young people, are we really taking the forefront of that fight ourselves also? Do we hold ourselves accountable? I'm thinking to myself that I was at the provincial youth in Umtata. I'm not sure what year that was, and there were certain resolutions taken there, certain things that was given to the executive, the newly appointed executive, and I think about 3 years later, I've yet to hear anything. And it could be that there's just a communication break between provincial youth and the diocesan youth in my diocese, or whatever the issue may be. But are we keeping one another accountable? We decided on a particular course of action. This is what we are going to do. And it just falls along the wayside. And if we don't hold ourselves accountable and do what we say we are going to do, then the church is not going to take us seriously. Thank you, Your Grace.
Thank you all. We've been looking at the church now, and I want us to start. I've noticed some hands, but I want us to start now, moving outside the church, because you have a privilege of belonging. And when we dismiss you after the Eucharist, we say, "Go in peace to love and serve the Lord." We all say, "In the name of Christ, Amen." So you're always being sent into the world. I want you to tell me, how can the church, some of you started doing that, how can the church start mobilizing the underrepresented? You are represented in church. There may be others who are underrepresented. How can we start mobilizing the underrepresented and to deal with equality of opportunity? I'm going to ask Ayabulela to start.
Thank you so much, Arch. I hope everyone can hear me.
We can hear you, yes.
Yes. One of the most fundamental things that people have raised was the issue of us being practically available in our communities. Instead of us talking and talking, having meetings and meetings without practically being available in our communities. We know that as a church, before you are a church, you are a community before. So I would think that one of the most things that we should be advocating is us volunteering in some of the things that are already happening. The government have put, measures. There are a lot of activities that are happening in and outside our community. So one of the best things that we should do, we should rally behind those things, obviously with the cap of the church, because the communities needs us, the underrepresented needs us. So if we are wearing the cap of the church, we go to these things that are happening and we assist. Other people will see what we do. Other people will want to rally behind us. So that's one of the points that I wanted to make.
Thanks, Ayabulela. Sipokazi?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much, Arch. I'm sorry to just go back a little bit. So I wanted my point to be heard in terms of, I want us to look at this in two ways, right? From my observation, two things that I think the church is not noting. Firstly, there's youth. We need to look at the age group of what youth is compromised of.
And secondly, we need to look at young adults. I don't mean to separate it, but from my observation, for example, the youth in my church are people from 15, 16, 17, and 18. However, if I look regionally, in some churches, there are young adults that, for example, are employed, are able to do certain things. Some of the youth members. So I feel like the gap that we have is a generational gap in terms of the church's perspective of what youth is, in terms of what expectations that they have for us young people. So that's one of the things that is very important, or for all the churches to actually start noticing.
Thanks, Sipogazi. Do you want to say something? Moving forward. Okay, let's get Bino. Bino?
Thank you, Grace. The last time I checked on 3, mine was that it's a bit difficult maybe for some of us to demonstrate, because there's no reference in terms of within those that we are saying that we are represented, but within we cannot say that that's how they do it there and then we can go implement it outside. So maybe another point is to empower us that are within, so that when we are empowered we can go out and give out ministry, because for now we are not sure how to go about, because there's no methodology that is being done within. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Bino. Let's have Mpho Mohale.
Thank you, Your Grace. First of all, thank you very much for creating this platform, Your Grace. Second of all, it is very important for us to request people to please mute themselves and only unmute themselves when they are to speak, because it's creating a lot of problems. Thirdly, Your Grace, I think somehow we have deviated from the question that was asked. A lot of the things that have been said are very important for us to be discussing, but could we perhaps try and focus on how does the church rebuild trust with Southern African youth in the province, so that we can at least get some kind of direction. I'm not disputing the importance of the issues that have been raised, but we have run away from the point.
Mpho, let me come back to that. I mean, it doesn't matter, because some of the youth are already touching on point number 2 and point number 3. So maybe just contribute any. We will sort them into different groups. That's fine. What's your take then, Reverend, on the church as a doorway to equality of opportunity? How can the church mobilize the youth in terms of socio-economic and political voice to operate underrepresented?
Thank you, Your Grace.
I think, could we ask people to mute themselves?
Thank you, Your Grace.
Sorry, Mpho, Grace, Your Grace, I think you can mute everyone and then just unmute Mpho.
Okay, let me look at that.
So you can mute everyone and then unmute the person that needs to speak.
Not the other way around.
Okay. Mpho, yes, Mpho can talk. Then mute all.
It's fighting against itself.
Mute all.
I feel like
And then unmute Mpho. Yes, Mpho, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. It's much better now. I think as young people, we are feeling a little bit out of our swimming water, so to speak, and perhaps it could be because there is no clear mandate as to what is the province expecting from young people. Where should we be venturing into, and what avenues should we be going into? And when we have the clear mandate as young people, I'm sure, and I know in many different dioceses, it is very possible for young people to fulfill the mandate that is given by the province, in order of us taking sort of instructions top down, so to speak, or having a framework to work from. And that would be helpful in terms of where young people get involved in social issues, in spiritual issues, and all those other issues that I mentioned. Thank you, Your Grace.
Thank you so much, Mpho. I see, I'm trying to get people that haven't spoken. I can see the hands of those that have spoken. I'm trying to see. The Seko family, does anyone want to say something there?
No, Father, we've been listening to the people's responses and so on to the questions, and they're not really, I don't know how to say this, but like, they're kind of deviating from the questions, Father.
I see. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Nokolo, do you want to say something?
Thank you, Arch, for the opportunity. With point number 3, I think what the church can do is that instead of looking at other, let's say, young people as being underrepresented, we should find ways of representing them or being in the same accord with them. Because sometimes young people feel as if they're not included in church because they're different, they have different ways of praising and all of that. So I think for us to be in the same accord in the church, we need to make them feel as if they're one of us. You know, I feel like sometimes even the whole uniform thing does separate us in a way, even though we are young people. So in order for us to build one church and one trust, each and everyone needs to feel that they are represented, be it it's in work, it's in worship and whatnot. But then also as us young people, we need to have our conscience. We need to start doing things without being forced or without being asked to do. We need to avail ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Jade Africa, and you're going to be followed by Sabelo Mtimkulu. Jade.
Good afternoon, Your Grace and all. I just want to speak on behalf of the question, what can the church do to be a door for creating equality? And I have a few points that I'd just like to share with everyone. For me, personally, my main concern is children and young adults in a whole. I feel that as a church, we should use our buildings as an open space to create to create the assistance to young people with regards to their schoolwork and studies, because that is not only for our parishes, but for our community that we're in as well. And I feel that if we as young people, we all have different places of access or what we've studied or what knowledge in a whole. And I feel as if we work as tutors to help one another, that could create the place of equality for opportunity for everyone. I also feel that a good platform like the Green Anglicans, if they could maybe send out material on how to create vegetable gardens or ways and means of using resources that we already have in recycling, it would help us for opportunities of possible businesses. And also it would help us in creating meals for young people and adults within our communities that are not as fortunate as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Isabel Mtimkulu.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. I was hoping that, Your Grace, you were going to explain to us what you mean by the underrepresented, because that could differ with some people. For an example, in the church, we are currently struggling with the issues of sexuality. And most of us don't seem to be going that way because maybe our belief is totally different with that. Of which sometimes I would go with saying maybe in situations like this, like that, in saying maybe our clergy also need to be educated in issues of the underrepresented, especially when it comes to issues of LGBTI, especially when it comes to issues of those who have mental illness. Then sometimes we find that it's not because we young people aren't doing anything or we are not interested in doing anything, but it's because the clergy is closing the doors. They're not allowing certain people to come into the church or feel welcome into the church. So we as a youth, it's not good to us to see other members of young people leaving the church just because they're discriminated or because of their sexuality or because of their mental illness. So maybe, I was hoping that you were going to clarify on that. What do you mean by those who are underrepresented?
Thank you very much. This is your meeting, and I want to hear what underrepresentation could mean in your context. Well, thanks for raising that. There is somebody that has been wanting to talk, but they did not identify themselves, and it is JM20 something. I don't know. I can't see them on the screen. But whilst we're waiting for them to identify themselves, I'm going to ask Zodwa. And Zodwa is going to be followed by Pamelo. Pamelo is going to be followed by Annalisa Balfour. Zodwa.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, Your Grace. Can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I will contribute on the first question where it has something to do with rebuilding the trust in the church between and the youth. My view is that I think parishes on the ground need to be more inclusive to youth. The diocese and the province has been trying, but now the problem when you go to a parish, that's where it's actually bad. I don't know. I think they don't trust youth or young people as yet. So there will be no relationship if there is no trust between the elderly and the young ones. And if they're not giving young people an opportunity to show what is it that they're capable of doing, then nothing can really be, it can't really work like that. That was my input, Your Grace. Thank you so much. And I think the way to do it also would be a good dissemination of information coming from the province to the dioceses, to the parishes. In fact, from the dioceses to the parishes, because it seems like it only gets to a certain parishes. So there is not much work done on the ground. Thank you, Your Grace.
Thank you. Let me get, before we move to Pamela, let's get Jesse Pastor is the one that really helped me with IT. Jesse, do you want to say something? I really want to honor you for helping me. Otherwise, I could have not had this opportunity. Do you want to contribute, Jesse Pastor?
Good afternoon, Your Grace, and everyone else. It's a pleasure for helping. I would like to add that I hear what everyone's saying, but I do also agree that we should put together a resource hub that is open to everyone in the province, where we are able to share resources. Because I hear what Jade said about the Green Anglicans and information on starting vegetable gardens. But I do think that during this time, an easy way for us to communicate is via social media. But if we could open up a web page, maybe on Access website, where we are able to then send our information to an administrator and that person upload it. Many of us have also put together some liturgies for lockdown. And yeah, as a youth worker myself, it is quite challenging to manage with young people virtually. But I think also it's an opportunity for us to stretch and to grow in terms of our own personal ministries. So a resource hub, I think, would be the way forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jesse. And you
Thank
have.
you, Arch. Arch.
Now we're going to have Pamela. Pamela, please.
Arch.
We're going to have Pamela. We're going to have Pamela.
Good day, Arch.
Pamela, yes, go ahead.
Arch, I have only two things to raise in terms of the first question that it was supposed to us about gaining the trust. I think the leaders of the church, they need to be more transparent to us as youth within the church, because some of the messages have been conveyed very, very late to us. And the only thing that they can do is to be more open to us, engaging with us, to knowing what are the problems that we are facing in our daily lives. Because mostly we meet probably on weekends, and the church leaders are not there. We as young people, we just sit there and discuss amongst ourselves things. But when we taking the matter forward to the leaders of the church, then they shut it out without hearing what we want to say. And also the last one is the number 3, that question 3 that we're talking about. I think the platforms that we can be created within the church, it's having more the revival or the workshop to know more about youth within the church, the young youth and young adults, to differentiate between the two, because it's causing a conflict within the church, because some members of the youth, they don't want to take part in the church, saying older people, they are more disrespecting towards them, which is totally wrong. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to have Annalisa Balfour, and I can see, I can see your hand. Just introduce yourself from Queenstown, please, so that people can see you. It's your computer that has got no name. But let's have Annalisa Balfour, and then that's your turn. Annalisa?
Thanks, Arch.
Good afternoon, Arch. It's Annalisa here in Cape Town. I wanted to say on point number 2 that the church is one of the most influential bodies within the community, because you will find a church, whether it's in a township, it's in a village, it's in a city, it's in a suburb. So the church has actually got a way of reaching people of different economic backgrounds and of economic, of different income levels. But I think the church needs to become more the center of the community, where we don't only just focus on the spiritual aspect of life, but we focus on the people as a whole, or as a family unit as a whole. For example, we as a church would conduct funerals if someone passes on, but we don't have a post-counseling of making sure that the family that is going through a grieving period, that they are handling that well. I think there's a lack in terms of just not focusing only on the spiritual aspect of the human or of the family, but also focusing on the person as a whole. Because the unrepresented is not out there in the community, it is within the church, but people don't feel safe enough to address or to have their social issues laid out to the church. So I think we need to focus more on what can we do above and beyond the spiritual aspect? How can we support the people within the church? Because I think the underrepresented and underprivileged people are within the church and within the reach, because the people who keep on coming for spiritual upliftment, but we need to do more as a church for the people.
Thank you so much, Annalisa. Queenstown, yes.
Thank you, Arch. Maputem Pafra from Diocese of Kahlamba. I would like to raise, I think, 1 or 2 input on question number 3, Arch.
Thank you.
Around the issue of economic transformation. Look, I'm of the view that if all the dioceses through their Tsoranang resources can promote this issue of enterprise development, so that we address 2 issues. One talks to economic transformation and the other one that talks to
employment creation, because if as
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, we've lost him. I'm going to ask to Africa, then followed by Lulama.
Oh, thank you, Father. I'm going to come with an angle of education, because the problem is with our youth is, as I think Uzoda has mentioned, that the problem is always with the parish parts, because the parish is what they never do most of the time is they don't give liturgical education to the youth. So you'll find that the youth, they are always vulnerable to always questioning what happens to the church, what the traditions of the church, and all other things that occur within the church. Now, these things, once you put them together, of course, they also have these the tents and white and everything else. Once you find someone who can easily question what goes on to the church, you'll find that the youth, they easily go astray. And because they easily go astray, and that's when they start to lose touch with what happens to the church. Now, basically what I'm trying to say is, the problem starts with distrust is when the youth do not have liturgical education about the church. Secondly, while still on the education part, our youth, from the debates that I've had with other youth members, is they tend to differentiate what the church is about, that is Anglicanism at large, and what the Bible says. So they always treat it as two different things at times. So I think another that's one of the.
I think those 2 points are fine, because we've got a number of other people waiting. I hope you will write to me. Thank you so much for raising those two. Let's get Lulama Ntuta. You've been waiting for a very long time. Lulama. And then after Lulama, we'll have Ernesto David. And then I want to give a chance to people from Mozambique in the Mbombo, and then people from Nyasa Diocese. Sorry, Africa, to come in there, but you had raised 2 valid points. Okay, Lulama.
Thank you, Your Grace. I think one thing that I would like us to also just look at is the evaluation and the measuring of youth ministry, in terms of who is the youth ministry accountable to. Like, we have a lot of things that are being done in our dioceses, but they do not filter down, because those structures sometimes there's nobody that's holding them into account. Even the PYC is the province holding the PYC into account. So I think that's one thing that I'd like us to review, in terms of how do we evaluate all these structures that are in place and everything that is being done in dioceses. Where is the evaluation process for that? Another thing is also evaluation of, like, for example, our liaison bishop. Are all dioceses in tune with the liaison bishop? Is the liaison bishop known in all dioceses in terms of advocating for youth ministry? Is he doing that? So I think that evaluation process across all structures is what needs to be in place.
Thank you. Let's, we have to draw it to a close at some stage. And I'm going to have Ernesto David Solomzi, then followed by Tabang Apani. Is Ernesto still there?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity, Archbishop Tabu. I'm Ernesto David. I'm from Angola.
Obrigado.
Thank you. It is a pleasure. I also thanks my God for the opportunity that He gave to me to make part of this meeting. I have started later because of the connection, but actually I have here the point that
has been the main point that is conduct our meeting. So it's important for all of us as a Christian youth to make part of society and underrepresented. So I was here and listened to everyone, and many points has been raised that are very important. Some of them I would like to share. As a young people, Anglican Community Church, we should have more school for community and give opportunity and equality for everyone. I would just think in case of charity, that is the thing that make me painful and hard in my heart, because I have seen even in South Africa and Angola, I think the problem is quite the same. What I have facing is there is many people there in the street. Some people, they don't have a place to go and to sleep. Even in Angola, there is a lot. We found last time as a community, youth, we have done this kind of solidarity, like go and give people to feed them and share the gospel. We found that the people, sometimes they don't know what they do. They just move with one place to another and they don't have money to go back, a reason why they are in the street. We have helped people to go back. If we are church and we feel passion for the people that they don't have nothing to eat, like they live in the street, we should have more house or place for charity, just to take these people from the street and put them in the right place and keep teaching the word of the God.
Brigado, Ernesto, brigado. Let's have the other Solumzi. Hello. If Solumzi is gone, can we have Tabang?
I think Solomzi is having troubles with connection.
Is Tabang there?
Yes, I'm available. Good afternoon, Your Grace, and the Lord be with everyone in this platform. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And one thing that does come to mind is, in terms of, we say so much about what the church needs to be contributing, but I believe also us as the youth, we also need to play a big role in putting into the contributions that the churches, or rather the role that the church can play to the community and to each other as well. But it becomes a bit more difficult for us as youth to play a part if the church itself is not opening up its doors to allow us to bring our innovations, to allow us to bring in our informations, everything that we've learned from the outside world. Because in reality, we spend more than 90% of our time in the outside world than we do within the church. And so most of our influences, it is bound to happen that will be influenced a lot more by factors from the outside world than we do get influenced by anything that's in the church. Historically, the church used to influence communities a lot. However, now I feel as if the church has lost a lot of value towards the community. It has lost a lot of value towards the youth. And personally speaking, I believe the church has become somewhat not the best investment when it comes to youth, young people. You'll find that a lot of us here, maybe in this platform, are working full time, but we don't feel like it's necessary for us to contribute a lot of our finances towards the actions and activities that are held by the church, because those activities don't interrelate with what it is that we feel close to. And it then becomes, it puts more emphasis on those who are underrepresented, because those who are underrepresented so happen to be the majority of the church. It's just that now the ones who have the opportunity or who have the ability to receive the information, that they can take that information and put action to it, there's a lot of ignorance. Perfect example is, if I did not know the right people, I would not have been in this platform, because I didn't get this information about the Zoom meeting from my church leader. I got it from a friend. But now our leaders in church, they receive information and then withhold it with them. Now, if we can actually bridge that gap, where communication can come directly from the top and be filtered to everyone, despite hierarchy.
Thank you. Point has been made. Let's get Aphelele. Aphelele is not there. Let's get Andile Zwane.
Thank you very much, Your Grace. Apologies. I've got a problem with the network.
No
By the name of Aphelele from the Diocese of Mzimvubu. Your Grace, I'd like to thank you very much for the opportunity. I have one issue or about two problems that I think they can help, which can help into rebuilding the youth. Firstly, not running away from the fact that our diocese is from the rural areas, and the old people, they do not understand that there's a youth that has to be involved in particular things that happen in the church, even inside the church as well, like whereby the youth has to be hands-on into doing things that happen at church. The only thing that is being recognized is it's only the servers. Just to clarify that, it's only the servers that they recognize as the youth in some cases. So now I wish our elders and our priests will be educated about the rules of the youth inside the church, so that we as the youth, we cannot run away from church and go do other things. Secondly, it's based on education. You will find that in a church, we do not speak about education. Even the elders, they do not encourage the children, the learners per se, and they do not tell the learners about the higher education or all that. Things like that, they need to be involved at church. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What I want to do, there are two more hands that I'm going to give an opportunity. Then I want us to go back now and now look at, I haven't heard any one of you mention COVID-19 and coronavirus. I want to hear, how are you feeling as the young people of our church and your friends? How are you feeling about COVID-19 and coronavirus? And what is your advice to the other young people and also to the adults? And then, because time is against us, if you could just be very brief to say, I feel sad, I feel anxious, I feel whatever. This is my advice. Now, I'm going to start with Andile Zwane. Be the first one to say, how do you feel and what do you suggest?
Thank you, Your Grace. I think now is just a time of unsureness for everyone, as people are feeling anxiety as not to know whether they have jobs or the way that they'll finish the year and things like that. And I think
Andile is struggling with connection. I'm going to have Bishop Tsiesi's daughters. One of you is raised your hand. How do you feel and what's the...
Hi, Your Grace. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clear, yes.
Yes. I just want to raise the point of prayer. Nobody, since we started the Zoom meeting, nobody has mentioned prayer, and I think it's a very important aspect in our lives. Together with that, consistency. What we've done with my sister is we have a routine. So you wake up every day and you feel anxious, you may feel shocked, you feel sad, but with a routine, you're able to go back to your normal life and have a pattern. For example, with prayer, like I mentioned, if you have a specific time where you come together as a family, whether it be individually or whatever, you adapt to, what's the word? A lifestyle that you can live by. And when everything goes back to normal, you realize how much you've grown in knowing the Lord and having a routine, which is part of discipline. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prayer and routine. Let's have, is it Silly Maka or some, Silly? If Silly is not hearing us, let me see.
Hello,
Yeah,
Silly here.
yeah, we can hear you.
I'd say I think for everyone there's a lot of anxiety during this period, but I would advise young people to just keep in touch. Let's use our platforms to keep in touch and connect spiritually. So we could have our prayer groups. We could share Bible studies, share scriptures, and reflect on our daily scriptures using our lectionaries. So yeah.
Thank you. Masibulele.
Thank you.
Thank you. Masibulele.
Good afternoon, Your Grace, and good afternoon to everyone. I think this COVID-19 pandemic is a brilliant, or it's a perfect opportunity for the church to show to the community how we can assist in any way that we can, especially the young people. I think we should use this opportunity, as Usili just mentioned now, that we should be more out there and try to assist as much as we can, because right now it's just at the beginning of this COVID-19 stages, and it's going to get a bit worse. And I think all of us here, we need to prepare ourselves so that we can be out there to assist as much as we can the communities, and a lot of people, God forbid, and we need to pray as well that that doesn't happen. But we might get to a stage where people are getting sick, and we need to know how can we protect ourselves and what is it that we can do to help out in the community. I think now it's more, it's an opportunity for us to go out there and assist as much as we can in our communities.
Thank you so much. Again, let's be brief. Desiree Harrison.
It's actually Edwin. It's actually Edwin here using Desiree's computer.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Edwin.
For COVID-19 at the moment, I think we need to assist those who are probably going to run out of food quite soon. So there needs to be a national plan or across the province to ensure that there's food security. In one community, they are actually handing out seeds as well. So people can start planting seeds to ensure food security. So I think that's the only thing I want to say for now, just to deal with food security.
Thank you. Let's have Sipogazi.
Me. I think it has been mentioned already, but
Sipogazi.
Oh yes, Sipogazi here. Can you hear me on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I think one of the steps that some of my youth members have taken is to actually assist with food packages. A lot of them are feeling anxious. A lot of them are feeling quite broken, if I may put it that way, because I've been checking. So I've made it my duty to check up on them, to ensure that I share quotes, motivational quotes, to make sure that I share scriptures with them, just to keep them motivated. A lot of them have said that they feel like church was home, basically. Church, the building was home, and that is something that they have lost. But through my communication with them, I'm really trying to just ensure that their spirits are up. So that's how the is feeling from my side.
Thank you so much. Let's have Jesse.
So I'd like to reiterate mental health again. And also my second point is prayer as well. I've been encouraging our young people in our parish to rediscover the offices of morning and evening prayer. And even though we teach these things in confirmation, because people are so busy all of the time, young people are so busy all of the time, that they often just find themselves just praying. But this has developed a rhythm of prayer. So my encouragement to everyone would be that encourage your young people to follow the lectionary, because remember, if we all follow the lectionary, we're all praying together, and that way God can speak to us together through the scriptures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bino?
Thank you, Arch. Mine is that I feel very worried. One, our clergy, I've never seen something affirming them of your stipends are safe, your families will be okay during this time. Yes, there's a spiritual plan that each church, each parish is coming up with, but what about the economical plan? What do we do in 4 or 5 months' time when we know that we're in a lockdown, no one is giving that much, because like in the area that I'm from, we only give hand to hand. What happens in those situations? And the last worry that I'm having, Arch, I see you are taking notes. Thank you for that. But is this just a consultation of now, or is there going to be something beyond today? Thank you, Arch.
Thank you so much. Ntokozo?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. And I just wanted to voice out that I'm very angry and disappointed when it comes to this whole COVID-19 pandemic. Reason being is that our church is very quiet. And that during this pandemic, we were supposed to be getting feedback from our priests on what's going on in terms of young people. We have a lot of people who are in matric or are still studying. What about our priests? What is the church council saying about this? How about people who are dealing with mental health issues? How is the church helping those young people with regards to that matter? I feel like the church and the church council as a whole, they're very quiet when it comes to this matter. And we believe that if we say we are the church, why aren't we the church even outside the building? And also, we're not doing anything regarding giving out parcels to people who are in need. What about us going out there and actually being disciples, preaching that word, instead of us just focusing on the pandemic itself? What are we doing to actually help people cope with this pandemic? Thank you.
Thank you. Ncube?
Great. Good afternoon, everyone, and you, Arch. I have a request for you, Arch. I don't know if this is possible, but I have problematic grandparents who refuse not to go to church because they believe this is the devil's work. I don't know if this is possible. I know you've recorded a video for social media, but something as easy like as a 30-second voice note going around assuring our elderly people that this is not the work of the devil and they should stay home because one, they're frail, two, they might catch it with these gatherings that they hold in the rural areas. So maybe this could filter down to bishops, to everyone who has like a resource to send that 30-second, I'm sure hearing your voice and offer surety to them would actually make them stay home, because I had to threaten my grandparents with your video for them to actually listen.
Thank you, Ncube. Charity Mnaring?
Thank you, Arch. So I just have 2 points, just very quickly. How I'm feeling, I'm very anxious, but I have come up with a routine where I actually wake up, I make my bed like I would always do on a normal day. So keeping to routine is very important. I wake up, I do my lectionary readings, make my bed, take a shower, exercise if I have to, and then get back to doing work. So routine is very important. And so just quickly, just a few solutions or practical things that the church can do beyond COVID-19 and just in general. So wellness days, the church can host, where you can educate people on mental health and go out to communities and actually do the work. Adopting a young person in the church, encouraging like families in the church to adopt a young person. And also clergy days should include the voice of young people. So I know clergymen always have days where they meet and have workshops, so include young people in that. And also parish council should include young people in them. And also just church outreach.
Thank you, Charity. Let's get the other. Andy Leswani, briefly. Andy Leswani. Koleka.
Hi, Arch, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm Koleka from Christ the King. Basically, on my side, I would like to encourage all parishioners to keep
Sorry,
on
I'm going to ask people to mute.
during the
Okay, go ahead.
banking of the church. This is to safeguard Reno's point about this.
Trying to give me a cooker, you trying to kill me. Huh?
I'm colleague. I don't know what happened on my point.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. We're listening, colleague.
Oh, thank you, Arch. All right, I was saying, Arch, we should encourage the parishioners to keep on giving during this time of COVID-19. They should not stop giving so that to safeguard the stipends of our priests and also the word of God to be spread, because now we are trying to help the people that don't have food and the less unprivileged. And now how do we then do that if we're not encouraging the people to also give? And also
Thank you.
create
Point made. We have to be very brief. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Art.
Thank you so much. Let's get Kolani also, sorry, Apinzi. Apinzi? Apinzi?
Can you hear me, Father? Oh, yeah, that's me.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel so anxious, and my biggest worry is the students in various universities. We know majority of them, they are worried now about the year that will go past. Some are behind with their studies. And the luckiest part is that God has given us different talents. God has given us different abilities. So we can use our own talents, our own abilities in emancipation of one another, helping one another. I do understand that everyone might be feeling the same, and a lot of things are happening so quick and fast, but with God, we need to ensure that we assist one another in any way that we can. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to have Santo Estavao. Santo Estavao.
Yes, thank you, Your Grace. My name is Fernando from Angola. Regarding to coronavirus, I feel the dream of those people returns, and maybe it is a time also now to say thank you, God, for this opportunity that we need to trust our God is with us, and there is now this opportunity for us as a leader and for the youth also. We need to take this opportunity and find a method to raise some awareness, to tell the youth that we still have time, and God is with us, and He will be with us to recover our hope and maintain our regular works in their lives. So especially the young people potential will be fulfilled for the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you
and
so much.
if you can give me another opportunity, I wanted to talk about question number 3.
Sorry, Gustavo, if you could just send it via chat. We're drawing to a close now. We've moved from content into feelings and into...
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Tumelo?
Oh, thank you, Arch. I'm Dumelo. I am a student here in UWC. I feel very anxious and I don't know what to do right now because the university has opted to do online teachings and all of that. And I happen to be very fortunate not to leave at that time when they took out students. So my fear is what's going to happen to us during this time and the other students as time goes, because we're not sure of what's going to happen in future and how is all of this going to be resolved. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Katleho Tladi. Katleho.
Hello, His Grace.
Unmute yourself, Katleho.
Hello, His Grace.
We can't hear Katleho. Let's look at Nokolo.
Okay.
Oh, Katleho is back. Katleho.
Oh, good day, Arch, and everyone. I'm from the diocese of Losana. Mari was just that what is actually the church doing about this open day? And is church giving as much as it's supposed to be giving to help this whole pandemic?
Thank you, Katleho. Do we have somebody from Mujela family? If let's get not Paulo, then Christine.
Thank you, Arch. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I was anxious because I really did not see myself repeating honors next year. So I was really worried about that. But what I did on my behalf was to assist the undergrads, whereby I opened a lot of WhatsApp groups for the modules they are currently doing, and I did last year just to make sure that they're not feeling alone, because it's really hard to do online study whereby you're a freshman and you have no idea how Blackboard works. And then another thing that kind of helped me is that the ASF from the Eastern Cape has a WhatsApp group. So each and every day, almost each and every day, they post scriptures, we do prayers, and there's something that we've started now, whereby each and every day at 12, we all pray and then we write a scripture. So I think we are all in this together and we are showing each other support. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaylin, Cosette. Kaylin.
Hi, Arch. I personally feel like I am just dealing with a lot at this time of uncertainty, and I feel like a lot of our young people are going through that too. Maybe a good idea would be to have a support group or like a call center that could help people deal with these emotions.
Thank you so much. It's 26 minutes past 2, and we have really engaged. And there was one question that, will this end here? As you can imagine, my plate is very full. And what I was trying to do today was to model a behavior that all of you could take forward, so that we don't maybe rely only on the Archbishop taking these matters forward. You can be each other's keeper, as the Bible says. You could be each other's neighbor, and you could connect as youth, as servers, as young adults, and take what we started today forward. Yes, I will maybe make 1 or 2 more contact, and I hope, Pasitana, you will draft a list of who we could send the invitation directly to, but also all of you, so that you don't wait for the priest. Go into AnglicanChurchSA.org. That is the website of the church, AnglicanChurchSA.org. Every day there, except the weekends, there is an update that we give you, so that you don't wait, and then create, if you want to do so, also a page for the young people, so that we could take what you are saying, young adults, young people can take what you are saying and share it with the bishops and share it with everybody. Remember, our website is not only looked at by ourselves, but we also have people from outside our province. We had somebody from the AACC today. I'm not sure if he did contribute. So 1, we are never alone. 2, don't despair. 3, this is a time where we celebrate Easter. And Easter reminds us that even if COVID-19 may create the welter of the emotions that each one of us is feeling, we are never alone. That same spirit that you received at your baptism, you received at your confirmation, the same spirit that woke Jesus from the dead is at work in you. So don't fear, but don't be reckless. And again, the most important thing is be kind, share, not only in terms of what you have, but in terms of your mind, in terms of your heart, in terms of your language. If you are trapped in the grave, in the past, maybe by anger, by anxiety, by always expecting others to do something for you, please be released from that and say, what is my part in this? How can I contribute to making society more hopeful, more helpful, and more Christ-centered? So I want us to spend the last part of this afternoon. One, we're going to do the Lord's Prayer together in the language of our choice. And then two, we're going to go into a time of prayer where we can pray together at the same time. And then in that prayer, I want you to really mention your one commitment also as a child of God to the nation, to the other the young people. And then I will end up with a blessing. Is that all right?
Yes.
Yes, that's all right.
Okay.
Yes, it's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. Lord's Prayer together.
All right. Good.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name.
Onze Vader wat in die hemel is, laat U naam geheilig word, koninkryk kom, laat U wil geskied, soos in die hemel net so op die aarde. Ons vandag ons skulde, soos ons ook ons skulde vergewe. Los ons van die bose, behoort die krag, heerlikheid tot in ewigheid.
Amen. Amen. So now we're going to go into a time of now prayer. We're praying together, whatever is in your heart, with a commitment. Let's pray at the same time again.
Jesus, Here is ons leidsman, is ons raadsman, is ons sterk, ons vrede. Jesus, kom die kerk hier in die tyd. Wees ons dat ons altyd hier kan staat maak, dat U hier ons sal lei die werk van die Gees. Kom werk deur ons, kom werk binne ons, kom werk rondom ons, Here. Soos ons saam as 'n nasie, Here, hier is te stry, Here, ons gedissiplineerd sal wees. Alles wat ons gegee is, maar ons gehoorsaam wees. Wat verg hierdie stryd, Here, dit is ons stryd, Here, maar U stryd, Here, hierdie virus te beveg in die naam van Jesus. Maar ons, Here, moet Oude dienaars, Christen van U te wees. Vandaag, Here, commitment dat ek my deel sal doen, Here, sal gee. Ons sal altyd bid, Here. Heerbaar sal wees. Geef ons leiding, geef ons geduld, geef ons kalmte, has been given to the Lord. Dankie, Here, vir U genade, dankie vir U skeping. En Here, word heerlik in U
Amen.
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 Now go into the world. Go into the world in peace. Be of good courage. Fight the good fight of faith, that you may finish your course with joy. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be amongst you and remain with you always. Amen.
Amen.
Stay well. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Father.
Contribution.
Everyone.